Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Storytell Cakes, and in this episode I'm going to be showing you how to make a burger cake. So which one is the actual cake? We'll find out. Shout out to Arthur Barr as well. It was his birthday last week. Arthur Barr has been a long-term subscriber on my page and I thought I'd make him a burger cake tutorial. I hope you and everyone else enjoys this tutorial. Let's get started. To make your tomato, just roll out some red fondant to about this thickness, cut it out with the circle cutter and use a leaf cutter to create indents all around the circle. Then just use a dotting tool to create little marks all around the tomato. Use some piping gel to create that clear, nice effect, and some yellow fondant for the dots of the tomatoes. Then just dice your tomato in half and use some red food dye mixed with a bit of rose spirit to colour the outsides of your tomato. I think it just gives a really cool pop of colour. For our lettuce, you just want to roll the fondant quite thin and use a circle cutter to cut out a circle. I then use 2 leaf veiners just to create a more realistic cabbage look, because you know when you look at a cabbage it looks kind of like it has all these veins going on. Then you just want to thinnen out your cabbage and ruffle it up into a nice ruffly cabbage look and dry it on an apple crate. Do you guys love onions and burgers? Because I definitely do. So roll out some white fondant with a little bit of purple fondant. Make sure the purple one's a bit thinner and then just roll them together. You then just want to create the fondant piece into a rectangular shape and use your knife to create vertical lines and stack the pieces on top of each other. Check that out guys, our onion's looking pretty cool. So now we're just going to kind of turn it into a smiley face and cut off the excess to get that onion look. To make the pickles, kind of picture it like making sushi. Just roll out a piece of dark green fondant and then get a log of light green fondant and roll it up together. A handy tip for you guys is to leave this in the freezer for 10 minutes so it's nice and firm before you actually dice it. You can use a skewer or the back of your paintbrush to create a nice shape for the pickle and then just use a knife to kind of give indents in the middle of the pickle. Similar to our tomatoes, just add some piping gel to give that nice shiny look and some yellow fondant for the dots of the pickles. So now it's time for us to make bacon, and I'm going to show you how to make quite a realistic bacon. It looks something like this, and as you can see it's just a combination of all different colours combined. These are the colours you'll be needing. Roll out a large piece of light maroon fondant and use the other remaining colours to kind of smither it all around the bacon. Then you can just use your rolling pin to smooth it all together to create a nice bacon look. I like to use a little bit of petal dust just to make our bacon look a little bit more crisp. So just a little bit out, and then just, well that's a little bit too much, but that's alright, some parts look like that on the sides of the bacon anyway. When you fry the bacon, you always notice that it gives like that nice brown crispy look on the outside, so that's the look we're going for right now. I'm just using a bit of scrunched up foil to kind of imprint on the bacon to give that nice realistic texture. Now what you want to do is just take it up and kind of give it a bit of a twist like this and let it dry like this, because you notice when bacon gets fried up it looks a bit swizzled up, and that's how I think we should let it dry. So I'm just going to put it on some tissue. Random thought, you can even prank your friends with this on April Fools and tell them it's food. It's time to make our buns now. We're gonna put it down and I'm gonna carve a bit of the top parts off just to make it a bit more thin. You notice when you look at a burger, the bottom bun is not as like round, it's more like straight, whereas the top bun's more round. And I'm gonna start off by doing the bottom bun. Ooh. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the bun around and use this as the bottom base. So I'm going to carve just a little bit around, not too much. So we're going to do the same for the top bun. I'm just going to go around and carve the top parts out. And this time I'm going to carve it a little bit more round because the top bun is always a bit more round than the bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and carve the ends. Careful, maybe just face your knife away from you. For the patty, I'm using a chocolate cake, and it's going to be the same size as the 2 white mud cakes I used before. I'm just going to flip it on the side. The size of the cake is going to be 6 inches each. And I'm going to actually cut the patty down a bit, so I'm going to start by cutting the top parts of it. Of course you can leave the patty this thick if you want. And here's your patty. The next step is to add a generous layer of buttercream around the outsides of all our cakes. And this is a buttercream that I pre-whipped up. If you want to learn how to make this, just check the link in the description box below. I'll link it down. And just watch this. It's such a sturdy buttercream. You have to actually give it like a bit of a whack to actually get it out. So it's great for pie. Whoa, look at that peak. Okay, that peak just disappeared. So once your cakes have been all nice and iced, it's time to pop it in the fridge so it can set before we add our fondant on. After your cakes have set for about 20 minutes in the fridge, take them out because we're going to cover it with some fondant. I'm going to cover the 2 burger buns with a cream coloured fondant. And I know right now it doesn't look like a burger's colour, but don't worry, I'll show you how to dust it later to give out that burger colour. Use your hands to give a nice curve around the burger. When you're trimming off the excess, you kind of want to leave a bit of a gap because we're going to tuck it underneath the burger. So I'm not trimming really close. I have here a 5-inch cake board, and I'm going to place this on the bottom of the cake to help me put the fondant underneath the cake. And that's going to help me curve this inside. So if I look here, because I've got that 5-inch cake board, I'm able to help push in the fondant below the cake. And for the patty, we're going to use a nice brown tone colour here to cover it up. You could use a smooth if you want as well. Take a bit of foil, aluminium foil, scrunch it up, and then use it to add texture to your burger. You can also use a knife to create crisscross patterns around your patty for that extra detail. And I'm also going to use a balling tool just to add different textures to the burger. So I've got the bottom bun flipped upside down, and we're now going to add some textures to it. I'm just using the back of my knife to create little indents on the top part of the bottom bun. Also add some crisscrossings here and there as well. That's the bottom bun done, and we're going to go ahead and do the same to the top bun. You can even create little small pieces on top as well, just because a bun usually looks like that on top too. Not too much though for the top. I'm now going to be making the cheese. The reason why I didn't make the cheese in advance is because I want it to flop over the patty, and if I made it in advance then it will dry up hard. So now is the perfect time to make it before we assemble the burger together. So you want to cut it into a square. And then what you need to do now is just cut it once. And then cut it one more time. So you have 4 slices to go around the burger. I've got here some pre-made buttercream. I'll put the link in the description box below how to make it. I've just dyed one red, yellow and plain. We're going to use it for tomato sauce, mayonnaise and for cheese drips. I found this really cool board to put the burger on top, but you can always use a cake board as well. Just add some buttercream to stick the bottom layer on first, and then now it's time to assemble everything together. If your cake has moisture on top, make sure you dust a bit of corn flour on tissue to the top part of the cake just to get rid of that moisture so it doesn't interrupt the dusting process. To create the shades for our burger, use some brown, orange and yellow petal dust, mix it together, and I recommend testing it on a fondant piece first before you go onto the actual burger. The second time around I added a bit more orange and yellow and I thought, yes, this is perfect. Use a big fluffy brush to then brush it onto your burger cake. Oh, exciting! Look at that, our burger's coming to life. Check out that bad boy, guys. The final touches is to create some sesame seeds for our burger. So I'm just using some leftover ivory fondant to create this. I recommend using a really thin paintbrush to brush on little watermarks to adhere our fondant sesame seeds on. The reason why you don't want to use a big brush is because it might get rid of the colours of the burger. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm now going to do something that I don't normally do to massive cakes, but it looks really tempting, so here we go. Let's go. Oh. That's right out. And remember to give this video a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe for more tutorials. I'll see you soon.